Hello, everyone, and welcome to STEAMCAV Podcast, a show of Trons powered by Aina the Careers. This podcast takes you on a thrilling journey through the exciting world of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. I'm going to be your host, Collins Baraza C, and I'm happy to be your guide on today's educational adventure. On today's episode of podcast, we are going to be diving deep into the stories of innovations, creative intersections that is making STEAM education a dynamic force that is currently shaping our future. And to help us with that is Rashida Ma'am, an emotional well-being coach, relationship coach, and a soft skill trainer. Miss Ansari is a wife, a loving mother, and a young grandmother. Her career began in engineering, transitioned into inner engineering, and took a path in a self-transformation as a coach. She spent almost over 16 years in academia and over 10 years in the field of coaching. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Collins.
Thank you, ma'am. And to our listeners today, just keep in touch. Stay in your seat wherever you are. Fill your popcorns, fill your glass with coffee because today is going to be a very exciting show where you are going to get to learn a lot from our guest. As you've heard from just a brief profile, our guest is a very, very dynamic and experienced person. And having such kind of a person only means one thing for our show: more learning, more educational adventures. So, once again, welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
ma'am, personally, I think I did some research, and I can't say that I know you quite well on the work that
Okay.
you are doing. But for the sake of those that are listening to us, could you please give us the background of yours, your journey?
So, as Collins rightly said, that I wear many hats. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also a loving wife, a dutiful daughter, and among all these roles that I play, I have gathered quite a lot of experience along the way. I started my career with teaching. I was in engineering, and the journey began with academia, which transitioned into industry when I had to move abroad to be with my husband. And there I was into industry and then back and forth. So I've had different kind of work opportunities. Among the many things, I picked up a behavioral science diploma and I transitioned into becoming a soft skill trainer. And then I helped would be engineers for campus to corporate transition. Many women, to begin with, I thought it was women who went this kind of journey and probably needed a mentor or a trusted guide to help them offload their baggage. I wrote down a course called The Art of Mastering Emotions. And my passion for being a lifelong learner, I kept adding NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, then the mind body breath connection. So, this is in brief my background of the things I've been doing so far.
Wow. That's quite a transition there from one career to the other, from one age of the course to the other, making sure that you, at least you help women. Uh, so, ma'am, your journey from engineering to emotional mastery, coaching is quite intriguing. And could you kindly share with us the pivotal moments or experiences that led to this career transition and how your background engineering informs your approach to emotional well-being as a coach? Because not many people will really be ready to take this kind of career transition. What is it that pushed you on this?
So, let me tell you that I just went with the flow. I
Okay.
started with teaching, and I think I was 10 years into academia when my husband was into international projects with Voltas. And after a while, I realized that he would mostly be outside India. And we had started family, and I didn't want my son to grow up without proximity of a father. So I moved to the UAE, and there I found that it was kind of I'm talking about the early 90s, where there was only one higher colleges of engineering, and they wouldn't hire a female teacher for male students. So I was kind of forced into industry, and that is where I started with a small marketing company, and then I went on to work with a consultancy in the UAE. I have changed from, say, the machine side, I'm more on the human side, and that is my journey from engineering to inner engineering.
And ma'am, you talked about art of mastering emotions. You know that you wrote a course on it, and I was really fascinated with this, and I would really like to hear more about this. Uh, what is it that provoked or initiated this type of thinking that I think I should write this book, and what are the some of the key things that your book highlights, the course highlights, so that because I know the aim of this was to make sure that even after you leave the field of academia, there are people who can go through the same thing course and get to deliver the right content. How did you land on this particular topic? Because I'm very sure that as someone with a lot of experience, I'm sure that there were so many topics that you could have wrote about, but you chose this particular topic. Why this?
Like
And
I mentioned earlier that it was the pandemic, and we were kind of all enclosed in our shells. So the outer world was kind of restricted. So it was time to reflect in the inner world. And I reflected on my journey of life that I had traversed so far in the different roles I had played, the different experiences I had gathered. I also mentioned that I had collected emotional baggage along the way. I had mentors for myself who helped me offload the baggage.
ma'am, I know that you are no longer that much into the field of engineering. However, as someone who have been down that line before, uh, first of all, you even told us you even told us how you contributed on the field of engineering by building the teaching aids. And what other strategies, okay, would you recommend to make the engineering learning be somehow good and enhance the STEAM education in general?
So, what I would say, Collins, is that, the approach has to be holistic. That means, along with the technical skills that are required, it is very important that we imbibe creativity and emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence basically means you are aware of your own emotions, you are able to understand them, and you are able to manage. So, this is one part of emotional intelligence. The second part is you are able to understand the emotions in the other person, and you are able to influence the other person. When you have a combination of these two things, you are high on your emotional intelligence. So the kind of education that is required is a holistic approach where, along with technical skills, there is creativity that is involved, where innovation is there, and emotional intelligence, this component together. What happens with it is the problem solving, the critical thinking, and the collaboration, they work beautifully together. And this can be achieved by stream by having interdisciplinary projects. By and large, the curriculum of engineering is constantly being revised to have interdisciplinary subjects, because life cannot be compartmentalized. If I am an electrical engineer, I need to know the basics of all other types of engineering to be able to do understand electrical engineering better, and more so to apply it in the field. So having more and more interdisciplinary curriculum, and having projects where the individuals will collaborate together so that they get a better flavor of the emotional intelligence when they work in teams. That would be my suggestion for.
Ma'am, those are quite great answers, and personally, I'm getting to learn so much from what you are trying to explain and what you are making us understand. I'm really getting to enjoy the session, and I also believe our listeners are enjoying those. For those joining us now, this is Team Cup Podcast, initiative by Aina Trons powered by Aina the Careers. So feel much welcome to enjoy the show. For those joining us now again, we are having an emotional well-being coach, a relationship coach, a self-skill trainer, soft skill trainer, and a mother, someone who is experienced in all dynamic fields, someone who is wearing so many hats, and we are really glad to have her here today. I have to know this in current generation of ours, and even research has been done about that. We are people who are easy to get angry, and as I was introducing you, I clearly stated that you are someone who is a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, meaning that you've witnessed you in your generation, you witnessed how your daughter or son was behaving. You saw how she or him was behaving, and you've seen how the granddaughter or the grandson is behaving. You've witnessed all these things, Mom, and
Yes.
I'm very sure that if I'm to be honest, you've seen that there's a difference between all these generations. Now, as a parent, what is your advice to other parents out there on how to deal with this generation of ours? Because how can they handle them so that as much as they are guided in the right direction? I know as an emotional coach, you know very well how to approach this. What can you tell the parents?
I would tell parents to talk less, in the sense, do not instruct your children. It would be my first thing. You just be the way you should be or you want your children to be. And the children will see you and imbibe those qualities from you.
Wow. You know, that
The
is a question
children need,
I had.
yeah, the children need to be understood more than to be told.
Exactly. That is a very precise answer. And to parents out there, listeners out there who are parents, I hope you've heard that. Give more of listening than talking. And as our coach recently stated, that our Almighty God provided us with two ears and one mouth. So let's do the necessary. Ma'am, that's a really great insight, and I have to say that I'm glad to have you here because you are educating us so much. We are getting to learn more from you, and you know, as someone who have experienced all these things, you've switched from one career to the other. You are a parent, you are a mother, you are a grandmother. I'm humbled to have you here today because we are learning. Personally, I'm learning, and I believe our listeners are also learning. So, ma'am, as someone who have been in academic, who spent almost 16 years in academia, how do you think that the educators can incorporate principles of emotional intelligence and resilience in STEAM education? Because as we indicated initially stated, STEAM simply means science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And for these courses to be taught well and the listeners to get to understand them, there is this the emotions need to be taken into consideration. So my question is, how can educators incorporate emotional intelligence when teaching these courses so that the people receiving them at the receiving end can get them clearly?
So, one thing I would tell Collins is very important for the children is that very early in age, children need to be taught that success and failure both are events. And success has been overly hyped. There are big accolades, appreciation, but children are not taught to accept failures. So we need to acclimatize our children. I read somewhere beautifully where it was written that success and failures both are feedbacks. What success tells you is that a particular thing that you have done, certain steps you might have taken, or certain activities that certain processes that have taken place, have got the desired result. So these steps are right for this kind of result. As against that, failure is also feedback which says that the steps you have taken are not right for this kind of result that you wanted. If you want the desired result, you have to change your steps. What happens is children grow up thinking that they have to only strive for success. this builds a fear of failure. And there are many cases where children are unable to accept failure. And we hear of children committing suicide and stuff like that when they do not get admission into IITs and stuff because they have put in so much effort. So early in life, if we can teach children to accept this, that will be one great step towards emotional intelligence. The other thing is that we have kind of, manuals where children are taught how to do SWOT analysis. That means strengths and weakness as far as their emotions are concerned. They are able to be okay, like you said, there is an awareness that I get angry. So, what are the triggers that make me angry? Then, next will be what are the steps. So, if you regularly do the deep breathing techniques, if you make it a part of your self care routine, you will find that the same triggers that earlier made you angry now no longer have that kind of impact. That means the frequency of your getting angry has gone down. The intensity of your anger, you will get irritated, but maybe you will not get angry. So you will find this shift happening. So if we include these processes as part of the curriculum of the child, you have emotional intelligence as a subject where the emotional quotient is measured. There are activities, and playfully the children learn about social quotient. In higher classes, maybe you can embed emotional intelligence training through different kits. Interdisciplinary projects are there, people work in teams, there is collaboration, and they learn to communicate assertively. Also, if you have industry institute interaction where real life problems are taken instead of just case studies which are theoretical, real life problem is given to the students where they work as a team and they try and find solution. The differences in the emotional makeup of the individuals come up. They learn to accept, tolerate each other, work as a team, and they will get results. So this will be real concrete and positive steps that STEAM can take to make this mind shift and bring into emotional intelligence. You also, you can have these kind of anger clubs, etc. When emotional intelligence is a subject, you have where there is a community of people who come together, who share their emotions. They are able to understand each other's. When you see somebody else getting angry, you can see the trigger, you can see your reflection into that person, and that is a better way of learning than somebody telling you or reading 10 books. So these kind of activities can be introduced.
Ma'am, I have to admit that that was great because as someone in Aina Trons and being one of the people that an organization that is offering STEAM education to the people, that was we got to learn from you, and I believe that we are going to take some of those initiatives that you've just stated to help us make our learners receive on the receiving end to gain more knowledge in STEAM education. So that one is great. And it's like you read my mind because my next question was I wanted to ask you how stress management can be done. And you see, you've already answered it. Things like deep breathing, yoga, everything. And I
I'd
know,
like to
yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like to add on it. I'd like to add on
Sure,
it. If you
sure, ma.
if
Hard
you
on it.
talk on stress management, there is one very beautiful, when we were in school, stress was only in the physics books. It was never in human behavior. When we came into engineering, I remember reading words like tensile stress, compressive stress, where stress was the forces on objects. And now, when we talk of stress, we talk about stress in human mind and human
Exactly.
behavior. So,
Yeah.
what has changed is, so if I have to give a mathematical approach to stress in human behavior, I would use the formula that stress is equal to pressure upon resilience. Simple mathematics, if you see.
You've even designed a formula for it.
Yes. So, you simple mathematics, zero and infinity, these are two concepts. They are not really numbers. In any equation, if the numerator is very small and the denominator is very large, we say that the ratio is equal to infinite. And the vice versa, that the denominator is very small, that means tending towards zero, then the ratio is infinite. So, how we apply this to stress is the pressure. Stress is equal to, I told you, pressure upon resilience. So, pressure is the external triggers that come, and resilience is a quality that is within you. If your resilience is high, the triggers will be ineffective. Your ratio will be equal to zero. Your stress will be equal to zero because your resilience is very high. And vice versa, if your resilience is very low, the smallest trigger will give you infinite stress. So if you keep this in mind, and for resilience, one more thing I would like to share is journaling. This is a very beautiful technique. You can start at any time. Every day morning when you wake up, first 10 to 20 minutes, you begin even with 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just write down whatever thoughts come to your mind. There will be days when you say, but there's no thought coming. That is also a thought. Write it down. There is no thought coming. So, in this way, if you start writing the thought journal every day, you will find over a period of time a lot of garbage is cleared. The problem is that we all are taught from childhood that you need to take a bath every day. Physically, you have to clean your body. But nobody has taught us that the mental dump also needs to be released. And we do not have formal training for this. And most of us just carry all this and continue with the baggage, which manifests in different problems, stress being one of them.
Wow. Mom, I feel like today I'm getting a free therapy session, and I believe that our listeners, I believe that our listeners are also getting the same because surely it has been an educative journey since we began. Your approaches to problems, how you explain them, you even designed a formula for for stress management.
Yes,
Mom,
that is
that is
the engineering mind.
yeah, ma'am. That is great because I don't know even if I could ever come with such a formula that you just had. I have to say that uh, personally, I'm getting a free therapy session, and I believe our listeners are also getting this session. After this, keep it here because at the end of this, perhaps you'll have to pay something to to get this session. So keep it here, keep listening, and be here with us. Those popcorns that you are eating, wherever you are, just make sure they don't end because we are having such a great session. To our listeners, by the way, in case you have any question that you will have to shoot to our guest here, feel free to share it because uh, we can't allow her to live here with this knowledge. We have to keep her here, share with us all the knowledge she has so that by the time she's leaving, I'm stress free, and even if I'm not stress free at that moment, I'll implement what she has said and blow out the gas and the dumps that are in my mind that can make me not perform well. I'll have released them. So, ma'am, thank you again for being with us today. Those approaches, the knowledge you're disseminating to us, wow, they are great. And let me take you back to when we began our show. There is something you talked about. Had you been in this generation of ours, you could have pursued artificial intelligence because you talked about how it was the your step to step growth in your career, and you talked about how artificial intelligence is. First of all, even before I asked the most important question, let me just ask this one thing: what is your take? in just one sentence, is artificial intelligence good or bad uh, in our career or in the economic sector?
Artificial intelligence is a tool. The tool is never good or bad. The
Ah,
use that the tool is put to is good or bad.
mom,
And
mom, you are so
I will
intelligent.
I will add one more thing to it. Since you're giving me this opportunity, this has been burning in my mind for a long time. I want to add that right now intelligence is working only in the effect mode. That means all remedial solutions to mental problems, behavioral problems, as far as the medical field is concerned. I would want somebody to put artificial intelligence into the cause mode. That is, understand and identify the pattern and behavior of human emotions, so that you have kind of a watch which will prompt you that, oh, you're beginning to get angry, take care, check. You have those water reminders and stuff like that. So I would want artificial intelligence to work in the cause mode to prevent all the things that affect human health in different ways, rather than being in the effect mode.
And ma'am, you are on spot on, because that was going to be my next question. I wanted to ask you, uh, how, if you are the person given the power to decide what AI can do in relation to emotional management, what could you have suggested to be done, or how, which approach could you have taken to make sure that AI can also help us, so that when I'm angry, it can detect, oh, Collins is being angry, Collins is being angry, or when you are happy, or Rashida is somehow happy, Rashida is happy, so that we can know how we deal with this thing. And by the way, mom, the reason why I'm saying that is because there are people with autism, okay? And people with autism are people who don't know how to manage it, to read emotions. They don't know whether you are happy or sad or what. Such kind of thing can help them. What do you think about it?
Definitely, definitely. The chatbots and the virtual assistants, all these are based on AI principles. So we can think of having them in a preventive manner rather than using these tools for cure. We use these tools for prevention of certain diseases, prevention of certain human behaviors. It can also be used for hardcore criminals. Neuroplasticity is a field whereby you can change the nerve connections. Like in the railway tracks, a new track is laid. They don't remove the old tracks. The train runs on the new track and the old track becomes redundant. The same way, the neural pathways in the mind, you can rewire the brain so that new paths are generated. Positivity of life is experienced one and all, and the negativity is reduced in all phases. So that would be my suggestion if I had the power to use artificial intelligence now.
Ma'am, you've said that, but in matters dealing with the mind, for this thing to be work, there must be test subjects, and you just know how researchers are so much strict on doing experiments with human being. So how can they go about this approach? Because, for instance, when they're doing tests, for example, when AI is being used to for face recognition, they just put the cameras, then the cameras can recognize your face, and this is helping to solve crimes. Okay, when someone has done a certain crime, the cameras can. Now, when dealing with the mind, you'll have to enter in the brain, and this
So,
is against the.
Collins, yeah, I there will be restrictions, of course, and we have to work within the parameters. But you've heard of clones, so maybe all the experiments can be done on the clones first, and then come to humans. There can be ways. And anyway, evolution theory, if you see, there were so many experiments that were done on the rats and the mice before they were implemented on human beings. So it is just a thought and my desire. So there can be ways.
If I was the person from the body which regulates this, I would have asked you this right now, that the intelligence of a rat is different from that of a human being. And for me to read the how the emotions of the rat is totally different from the emotion of a human being. Will I really be able to get a conclusive result?
So, no, emotions would not be the same working on animals. Maybe clones, or better still, like I told you before, I would like to reiterate that I would like this message to remain that catch them young, you know, bring
Yeah, sure,
emotional
sure.
intelligence right from school into the children, so that there never reaches that kind of stage where, the inner child healing or past life regression, people in their 40s, 50s and 60s, they work upon themselves. They have certain trauma that they have held back for so many years. Instead of that, if we teach our children to assert their emotions in the proper manner at the right age, probably this kind of situations will never arise.
Wow. So we are back to where we began, where you said that the only way to make sure that when they become an adult, someone is an adult can manage emotions well is when we trim them when they are young. We
Exactly.
make them understand this when they are young. That's great, ma'am,
Exactly.
and that's a very great approach. And back to the AI thing, I think that actually, as much as I was enjoying juggling with you the questions of what and what not, I think that it is high approach that scientists need to find a way, to help so that it can read emotion. But by the way, I think there is such kind of thing, though it has not come to light so much. But I think in the United States they are having such kind of thing. These machines, the robots that can help read emotions, but they should bring it out so that the people globally can just see how it works and we learn how it does. So, ma'am,
Yeah.
that was a great approach. That was a great approach that you've given, and I have to say that I'm enjoying this conversation with you because you're you know how to encounter each and every problem, and it's like you have an answer to every problem. And I have to ask this now that you are here with us. Yeah. What is it that you think that can be done to make sure that these entire processes of emotional well-being, stress management, everything is incorporated in learning institutions so that children can
Your
can
voice
can
is
learn
uh,
well.
your voice is gone, Collins. I can't hear you.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me now?
Hello. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Great, great. So I went off when I was actually. I know we are almost at the end of our show. We've learned a lot from you since the show began, and I was at a point where I was asking you something. You say currently the us in Atrons we are going to try and emulate what you've stated, but for the sake of all the schools in India, Kenya, everywhere for the way our listeners are, what is it that they can do to make sure that these emotional well-being causes are taken into consideration? What advice will you have to people in authority, the government, anyone who is at the authority level? Okay, what can they do to make sure that this emotional thing is taken into consideration for the kids when they are young?
So just make it as part of their curriculum. You have a proper module at every stage, in the school level, in the colleges, in the higher studies. Everywhere there is a course which is included. Depending on the age, the different activities and different curriculum can be designed, so that slowly, slowly, I told you one type of journaling, that is thought journaling. There are many types of journaling. There are hundreds and more than that, breathing techniques. Each one has its own benefit. So let that, nugget by nugget, these things can be introduced: mindfulness, guided meditations, then assertive role plays. Children can be taught to play different roles and behave. So They can be mindful of the words they choose, the language, the body, the non-verbal behavior. So all these things, then I told you at a higher engineering level and stuff like that, they have interdisciplinary projects, real life, they have mentors. It is very important that at every stage we should have either a mentor or a coach. If you see any of the people who have really been successful in any field of life, they have always had a mentor or coach to guide them, because emotional turmoil is like quicksand. Quicksand, once you go inside it, unless somebody gives you that hand and pulls you out, you may struggle as much as you want, you will not be able to get out. So at that particular instant, you need somebody who will pull you out and put you on the path, and then you can carry.
Wow, that's a great response. Actually, what you've said is true. At one point, or in particular, any point in life, we usually require that person to be our mentor, that person to help us and guide us in the right path. And in most cases, if you ask people, every person always have that person who they looked up to so that they can reach a particular point. Individually, I have a mentor, someone who I say that this person is the one who has been leading me or guiding me whenever I'm in a deep hole where I cannot get out. So, ma'am, that was quite a good answer. And when you said about the curriculum thing, I think that can be a very good idea. And for our listeners who perhaps is someone in authority, when you are hearing this, emotional well-being is something which is very important. And initially, in the middle of our show, I said something about over 700,000 people commit suicide every year. And half of these are kids, teenagers. And the reason why they are doing this is because they are stressed. They don't have someone to share with them their emotions. So by incorporating this kind of education system or curriculum, we will help to nurture these kids. And as our guest initially stated, that the only way which that we can have responsible adults who know how to manage their emotion is when we help them when they're still young. And
Correct.
so that was
And
a great,
another suggestion would be building up communities.
yeah,
Quite often children may not share it with their teachers or their parents, but if their peers within the community, they feel the environment is safe, they would feel ready to share their problems and their difficulties. They learn from each other also. So
yeah.
forming these support communities, even that would help.
Sure. And ma'am, I agree with you at that part where you say the community part, because for example, those in the IT industry, those in the coding industry, you always find that they're having a certain community, and that community is having over 1 million people, where when someone experiences a coding problem, they post it on that community forum. You get
Exactly.
it? Yeah. So
Exactly.
I think that your approach can also help, so that instead of having those ones for coding or programming, we can also have for emotions, so that when someone is having a, yeah. So, ma'am, I have to say that we had a quite enticing and a quite good journey with you. Uh, I've really enjoyed the show, and I believe our listeners have really learned a lot from you. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I have to admit that you coming here today has been a light and a new chapter to some people. We've got to learn some things that we never knew before. So, ma'am, since we are coming to the end of our show, I'll just have to ask you one thing. What is it that you can live with that as our parting shot? Your final thoughts, your final advice, something you can tell us?
Catch them young.
Wow. Wow. Catch them young. That is it. And for our listeners, I know that when you hear mom saying catch them young, you know what mom means. Make sure that you take care of those kids when they are young. Take them through the right journey. Take them, make sure that you help them manage their emotions when they are young. And with that, As Mom has stated clearly, we will have responsible adults who knows how to manage their emotion. So I have to admit that we have had a very, very, very good show, and thank you so much, Ma'am, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It has been
Thank
truly,
you.
truly, truly inspiring to hear you and your journey and incredible work that you've done yourself to help people manage their well-being, their emotional, and even relationship issues. So, Ma'am, I have to admit that was so good, and thank you again for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Collins. Thank you, Steam Curve Podcast, and the entire team back in support. It has been a wonderful experience for myself also. I loved sharing whatever part of my journey is helpful to whoever. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in on Steam Cup Podcast. Indeed, we always want to give you our best, and I have to believe that today we have been able to deliver the best. We brought you the best guest, and you have been able to learn much. So be sure to join us next time for more exciting discussions on our world of STEAM education. For you not to miss any of these episodes, just remember to follow us on all our social media platform at Inatrons. That is at YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, even WhatsApp channel, everywhere. We are at Inatrons. So until then, stay curious and keep innovating with us. Bye bye.